India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. No respite in the tariff war in sight as allies and others hit back at US with countermeasures. Trump warns of retaliatory tariffs, says US will win the financial battle with EU. Arab leaders signal readiness to continue consultations on the Gaza plan with the US as a foundation for the reconstruction efforts. Trump says nobody expelling Palestinians from Gaza. G7 foreign ministers discuss Ukraine as US negotiators head to Moscow for a ceasefire. Kremlin says awaiting details of a US-Ukrainian proposal agreed this week. Pakistan military ends train standoff, claims to neutralizing all 33 attackers, says 27 soldiers also killed in the operation. And moving to the details now, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday vowed to respond to the European Union's threat to impose counter tariffs on 26 billion euros worth of US goods from next month after Trump implemented blanket tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. At the start of a meeting with Irish Prime Minister Michelle Martin in the Oval Office, Trump said Ireland, a member of the European Union, was among countries taking advantage of the United States.
The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. I saw that. I had it out with them in my first term. It did well, but we had to solve other problems, and we did. But European Union's been very tough, and it's our turn too. You know, we get a turn at that also. But they have not been fair. They sue our companies and win massive amounts of money. They sued Apple, won $17 billion.
Well, Arab foreign ministers met in Qatar on Wednesday with US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss reconstruction for Gaza. They agreed to continue consultations and coordination on the plan as a foundation for the reconstruction efforts. Foreign ministers from Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and the Secretary General of the Palestine Liberation Organization were present at the meeting. On Saturday, the 57-member Organization of Islamic Cooperation, that is OIC, formally adopted a plan put forward by the Arab League at an emergency meeting in Saudi Arabia. Well, the Egyptian spearheaded plan emerged as a proposal to rebuild the Gaza Strip under the future administration of the Palestinian Authority in response to a proposal by US President Donald Trump to take over Gaza and displace its residents. Also, the plan by Arab nations has been rejected by both Israel and its key ally, the United States, but has been endorsed by Britain, France, Germany, and Italy. A fresh round of talks on a ceasefire in Gaza also began in Qatar on Tuesday, with Witkoff dispatched to Doha for the mediations. Meanwhile, replying to a question in the White House, US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that nobody is expelling any Palestinians from Gaza. Previously, he had said that all Palestinians should be removed from Gaza.
He's expelling any Palestinians. I don't know. We talk about everything. Israel has been under siege, as you can see, and they had to fight back. October 7th was a terrible thing. People don't like to mention it, but it was a terrible, terrible day in the life of the world.
Well, G7 foreign ministers meet in Canada to address Russia-Ukraine war, while U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio dismisses concerns about a potential U.S. takeover of Canada. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Canada ahead of a G7 meeting, marking the first visit by U.S. officials since President Donald Trump's return to power. Rubio emphasized that the meeting will prioritize pressing global issues such as the Ukraine conflict rather than addressing Trump's contentious remarks about annexing Canada. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is attending alongside representatives from the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the European Union. Russia has presented the U.S. with a list of demands for a deal to end its war against Ukraine. The meeting comes amid trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada, with Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly vowing to raise tariffs at every meeting. Rubio acknowledged trade tensions, however, have emphasized shared interest between the U.S. and Canada. And U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed optimism that U.S. negotiators could secure a ceasefire in the Ukraine conflict. Trump stated that a ceasefire would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized that Washington wants Moscow's agreement to an unconditional halt to hostilities. The White House said that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, a mediator in the Gaza and Ukraine wars, would be in Moscow this week for the talks on a ceasefire. The Kremlin has not indicated its readiness to stop fighting, and Russian President Vladimir Putin has shown no signs of backing down. Well, Putin visited Russian troops in the Kursk region, stating that he expects all combat tasks to be fulfilled. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his country's readiness to accept a deal, although he warned that Ukrainians have no confidence that the fighting will stop. Well, the Kremlin on Wednesday said it was awaiting details from Washington about a proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, while senior Moscow sources said a deal would have to take account of Russia's advances and addresses its concerns. U.S. President Donald Trump reversed a U.S. policy on the conflict, launching bilateral talks with Moscow and suspending military assistance to Ukraine, demanding that it take steps to end the conflict. The United States agreed on Tuesday to resume weapon supplies and intelligence sharing after Kyiv said at talks in Saudi Arabia that it was ready to support a ceasefire proposal. Here's a report.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has hailed Tuesday's meeting in Saudi Arabia between US and Ukrainian officials as constructive, and said a potential 30-day ceasefire with Russia could be used to draft a broader peace deal, and that the resumption of US military aid and intelligence sharing was very positive. Zelensky made the remark during a press briefing in Kiev on Wednesday, where he said Ukraine supported a US effort to end Russia's 3-year-old conflict as soon as possible.
We will talk about security guarantees in more detail if there is a ceasefire for 30 days. These 30 days are meant to put on paper the steps we have agreed on with allies and format of the security guarantees that will be in place in Ukraine after the end of the war.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin said it was waiting for the US to inform it about the details of the proposed ceasefire in Ukraine. Washington said the ball is now in Moscow's court after Ukraine backed its suggestion of a 30-day ceasefire and agreed to immediate negotiations with Russia. The US lifted a freeze on military aid to Ukraine after the Jeddah talks. During a stop in Ireland after US-Ukraine talks in Saudi Arabia, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said United States was initiating contact with Russia and gauging its response.
Different ways to construct a deterrent on the ground that prevents another war from starting in the future. We're not going to go in with any sort of preconceived notion. The bottom line is it needs to be something that makes Ukraine feel as if they can deter and prevent a future invasion. How that looks and how that's put together, that's what we're going to be talking about. If we can get to that stage. Again, right now we're just trying to get to the stage where there's actual diplomacy happening. Here's what we'd like the world to look like in a few days. Neither side is shooting at each other. Not rockets, not missiles, not bullets, nothing.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also hoped for the proposed 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine to materialize.
A ceasefire is indeed a positive thing, and we hope that it will materialize, and we hope that it will pave the way for peace, a just peace.
Welcoming the move, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said a ceasefire in Ukraine must be a step towards lasting agreement.
A ceasefire must be embedded in a peace process that lead to a lasting agreement. Ukraine's sovereignty must be preserved.
On the battlefront, Russia's missile strike on the Black Sea port of Odessa damaged a grain vessel and killed 4 people. Dheeraj Das reporting for DD India.
Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin has visited the western Russian region of Kursk for the first time since Ukrainian forces seized some territory in the region. Appearing on Wednesday on Russian state television, Putin visited a control center in Kursk region used by Russian troops. Also, Putin heard a report from Valery Gerasimov, head of the Russian General Staff, who told him that Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region were now surrounded.
Our task is in the nearest future, in the shortest possible time, to completely defeat the enemy who has ducked in on the territory of Kursk region and is still conducting military operations here. To completely liberate the territory of Kursk region, to restore the situation along the state borderline. And of course, we need to think. I would ask you to think about the future and the creation of a security zone along the state border. We need to think about this too.
Well, meanwhile, Russia has claimed to have made significant new advances against Ukrainian forces in Kursk, while Ukraine says it has repelled 33 Russian attacks. The Russian Defense Ministry reported on Wednesday that its army had taken control of 5 settlements in Kursk and 2 settlements in Donetsk region over the past day. A video released by Russian military reporters on the same day showed that Russian troops had entered the center of Sudza, a strategic town in Kursk, while Ukraine said the Russian army had launched attacks against the Ukrainian army in several areas, including Kharkiv and Kupiansk, while the Ukrainian Air Force, missile units and artillery attacked concentrations of Russian personnel, weapons and military equipment. And members of the French National Assembly adopted a resolution on strengthening support for Ukraine, including a call to seize frozen Russian assets, which the government opposes. France has until now voiced opposition to seizing frozen Russian assets, arguing that such a move would be against international agreements and a stance that puts Paris at odds with its ally, Britain. An amendment proposal by several members of parliament, including former Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, suggested going even further by using Russia's assets to strengthen Europe's defense capabilities. While Pakistani security forces stormed a train hijacked by separatist Baloch gunmen, killing all 33 attackers and ending a 30-hour standoff with hundreds of hostages. More than 340 train passengers taken hostage by BLA, a militant group fighting for the rights of Baloch people, were freed by security forces after a 30-hour siege. According to AFP, Pakistani army officer confirmed that 27 off-duty soldiers were shot by militants. Pakistan security forces launched a rescue mission on Tuesday afternoon after a separatist group bombed a railway track in mountainous southwest Balochistan and stormed a train with around 450 passengers on board. Well, the 27 slain soldiers had been traveling on the train as passengers. One on-duty soldier was killed in the clearance operation. The Baloch militants attacked the Jafar Express with a bomb and rocket fire on Tuesday while it was traveling from Quetta to Peshawar. Balochistan is a restive province in Pakistan which has witnessed armed revolt against what Baloch calls an oppressive regime, alleging grave human rights abuses by the Pakistani army against the locals, which have been fighting for a separate homeland for many decades. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister Modi concludes a landmark Mauritius visit, strengthening ties with 8 key agreements and being the chief guest at Mauritius National Day. India successfully test fires Astra missile equipped with advanced guidance and navigation capabilities. And India joins global athletes at Special Olympic World Winter Games in Turin, competing in 6 sports.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lupakshi Khurana, and moving on. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has wrapped up a landmark two-day visit to Mauritius. It has seen the two nations elevate their ties to an enhanced strategic partnership and inking 8 pacts ranging from maritime security to trade in each other's currencies. The Prime Minister also participated in the island nation's National Day celebrations and was even bestowed with its highest civilian award. Akshay Dongre reports from Port Louis for more.
India and Mauritius, the two nations that share a deep-rooted connect, announced to further elevate their relationship to the level of an enhanced strategic partnership, marking a major milestone in economic and trade relations.
प्रधानमंत्री नवीन चंद्र रामगुलाम और मैंने भारत मॉरिशस साझेदारी को एनहेंस स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा देने का निर्णय लिया है। हमने निर्णय लिया कि मॉरिशस में पार्लियामेंट की नई बिल्डिंग बनाने में भारत सहयोग करेगा। यह मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी की ओर से मॉरिशस को भेंट होगी। मॉरिशस में 100 किलोमीटर लंबी पानी की पाइपलाइन के आधुनिकीकरण के लिए काम किया जाएगा।
Prime Minister of the Republic of India has honored us by his presence amidst us on the occasion of the National Day celebrations of the 57th anniversary of our independence. His distinguished presence on this momentous occasion is testimony to the unique and very special relations which bind our two countries. The resounding success of the community event at the Triano Convention Center, which gathered both Mauritian citizens and members of the Indian diaspora, was a clear illustration of the vibrancy of shared cultural heritage.
In a significant boost to bilateral relations, Mauritius's Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam and Prime Minister Narendra Modi held comprehensive discussions during the Indian leader's two-day state visit to Mauritius. India and Mauritius signed 8 key agreements. The MOU between the Central Bank of Mauritius and the Reserve Bank of India on local currency settlement system aims to facilitate cross-border transactions. A credit facility agreement was also signed to finance projects under the pipe replacement program. Other notable agreements include the MOU on training program for diplomats, technical agreement on sharing of white shipping information, and MOUs on cooperation in micro, small and medium enterprises, training of public officers and ocean information services. The discussions also centered around strengthening bilateral ties with a focus on development partnership, defense and maritime security and people-to-people exchanges. The historic visit also saw Prime Minister Modi attending the 57th National Day celebrations of the island nation as the chief guest. The high point of the event was when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was honoured with Mauritius's highest civilian award, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of the Indian Ocean. During the 57th National Day celebrations, where an Indian Navy contingent participated and an Indian naval ship made a port call, PM Modi dedicated the honour to the people of India.
This is not just my honor. It is the honor of 1.4 billion Indians. It is a tribute to the centuries-old cultural and historical bonds of kinship between India and Mauritius.
The inauguration of the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Public Service and Innovation, Mauritius Area Health Centre and 20 HICDP projects during the visit further solidified the partnership. India also announced support for a new parliament building and phase 2 of the high-impact community development projects. Before wrapping up the two-day visit, the Indian Prime Minister immersed himself in Mauritian history and culture. He visited the sacred Ganga Talao, a revered Hindu pilgrimage site, and explored natural landmarks. With inputs from Akshay Dongre, Bureau Report, DD India.
And moving on, Aeronautical Development Agency on Wednesday successfully conducted test launch of homegrown Astra Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air missile from LCA-AF Mk1 prototype fighter aircraft. The test firing successfully demonstrated the direct hit of the missile on flying target. All the subsystems performed accurately, meeting all mission parameters and objectives. Well, Astra missile is designed and developed by DRDO, capable of engaging the targets over 100 kilometers and equipped with advanced guidance and navigation capabilities, allows the missile to destroy targets with greater accuracy. The missile is already inducted into the Indian Air Force. The successful test firing is a significant milestone towards the induction of LCA-AF Mk1A variant. Rajnath Singh has congratulated the teams of DRDO, IAF, ADA, HAL and all involved in the trial. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. In a heartening display of women's empowerment and traditional craftsmanship, women in Chhindwara are engaging in creating herbal gulal from natural ingredients like tesu, rose and turmeric. This initiative not only promotes sustainable livelihoods but also helps preserve traditional knowledge and practices, encourages the use of organic and locally sourced materials, reducing the environmental impact of celebrations. The Holi Abhinandan program celebrations have begun in Dehradun, marking the start of one of the most vibrant and joyous festivals. This annual event is a grand showcase of cultural heritage, community spirit and the festive essence of Holi, setting the stage for a week of festivities filled with joy, unity and cultural pride. Revelers celebrate Flower Holi in Ahmedabad, experiencing the unique and eco-friendly way the city celebrates the festival of colours. Revelers immerse themselves in traditional Gujarati music and dance performances, including Garba and Dhol beats, offering a chance to experience the local culture and community spirit. Preparation work of Asia's most popular tulip garden is in full swing in Srinagar. This year, the garden will feature over 1.5 million tulip bulbs in 73 varieties. Located at the foothills of the Zabarwan range, the garden offers breathtaking views of Dal Lake and is a major tourist attraction. The Tulip Festival, which typically lasts 15 days to a month, showcases the beauty of tulips carpeting the terraced slopes in an awe-inspiring display of colors and fragrance. And on to some sports news now. The Special Olympic World Winter Games are underway in Turin, Italy, with over 1,500 athletes from 102 countries. India has set a strong contingent competing in 6 sports. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh brings us all the latest from Turin.
The Special Olympics World Winter Games are in full swing in Italy. Over 1,500 athletes from 102 countries have come together to compete in the 8 winter sports. But this is more than just competition. It's about breaking barriers, celebrating abilities, and proving that sports truly include everyone. And India is proudly part of this global event. A 49-member contingent, including 30 athletes, representing India in 6 different sports. The excitement here in Italy's Piedmont region is incredible. More than 100,000 spectators have gathered to cheer these amazing athletes. The competition is intense, but the spirit of unity and sportsmanship is even stronger. Apart from this, athletes are competing in 8 sports, including alpine skiing, snowboarding, figure skating, cross country. Each competitor has worked hard to be here and proving that no obstacle is too big when you have the will to succeed. Talking about the venues, alpine skiing is taking place in Sestre, snowshoeing also taking place in Sestre, and snowboarding, the action is taking place in Bradonikia. Cross-country skiing, the competition is heating up in Pragoleto, and figure skating is unfolding in Turin here, and the floorball, the fast-paced matches are underway in Turin in Alpi Arena, which is just behind me. And this is about more than medals. It's about showcasing the incredible talent and determination of these athletes with intellectual disabilities. The passion, the hard work, and the energy here is truly inspiring. And these athletes are giving their best, and we will keep bringing you all the updates of Special Olympic Winter Edition from Turin.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.